What is up, everyone? It is Rosie here, and this week we're going to revisit and expand upon one of the theories that I'm most proud of. That the Daedric Prince Hircine is what I call a fragment of Lorkhan. This all started when I was investigating the Skyforge. I stumbled into all this lore about creation, the Reachmen, and of course Hircine and some other gods. And I ended up with definitely a bold theory, but one that I'm pretty confident in. And I got some fantastic comments on that video. If any of you guys are here, thank you. I remember people adding things to the theory, like with Pelennor Whitestrake, with some of the Aedra. It was great, I loved it. So what are fragments of Lorkhan? When Lorkhan was executed by Auriel's regime, he got split into pieces. We know this to be true because reincarnations of Lorkhan that we refer to as Shezarines exist independently from his heart that once resided in Red Mountain. And I believe that Hircine started out as one of those pieces, and found ways to become more powerful, which led to the Daedric Prince we now know. So I've taken to referring to these things and beings that I at least think started out as pieces of the missing god as fragments of Lorkhan. But we have an important question. How many fragments are there? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain why I believe that Mehrunes Dagon is another fragment of Lorkhan. So first I want to be sure to mention that I'm not sure the audio for this is going to come out great. You see, I just upgraded from Audacity to Adobe Audition, and this is as good as it gets. Very good software. But the thing is, I had this issue last week where I record at a 24-bit rate. That's typical for YouTube, but for some reason it wouldn't let me export at 24. It made me export at 16. So I didn't like that. That's for an AAC, so what I'm going to try to do this week is export as a new file type, as a WAV. So we're gonna see how it goes. If it goes bad, then I'll have to figure something else out. But if it comes out great, then I guess we'll just keep doing this. So to kick us off, let's think about some spheres of Dagon's. He's the Daedric Prince of Change and Ambition. These are very Lorkhan-like qualities. Lorkhan is very much defined by his padomaic nature. He had the ambition to rally some gods behind doing something they'd never done before, creating Mundus, which entailed a lot of change. For him, these gods, for everything really. There's also some speculation that Dagon and Hircine may be allies. However, this seems to originate from an unofficial source. But there is an official source that addresses these rumors. There's a website called the Loremaster's Archive, which the ESO writers made as a way to get some lore out for ESO. And they address these rumors that Dagon and Hircine may be allies in a post called Mehrunes Dagon and Daedra in the Second Era. They didn't really say much, they just kind of beat around the bush and were like, what can we mortals know about the Daedra and their allegiances? But they bothered to address it, and that suggests that there is something to read into here. Why go to the trouble of writing this post at all if there's nothing to this? So perhaps this idea that Dagon and Hircine could be allies originates from them both being fragments of Lorkhan. We also need to talk about the origin of Dagon. Mythic Dawn Commentaries Volume 4 claims that he was created in a place called Lig. So I think of Lig as like this universe's equivalent of the Upside Down if you're familiar with Stranger Things or D&D. So this realm Lig was once ruled by Molag Bal, and it's where the Dreg originated from. And for this story you also need to know what the Magna Gi are. So Magna Gi are spirits that fled Mundus with Magnus when he realized that he was losing power. And the holes they left in the firmament are the stars. So the story we can gather from Mythic Dawn commentaries is that the way Mankar Camoran understands it is that Dagon was created by the Magna Gi in Lig for the purpose of destroying it and possibly for defeating Molag Bal. But there is another version of this story in the Adversarial Spirits that claims that Dagon did exist ahead of time, then ventured to Lig and was captured by Molag Bal and tortured. But the major problem this source presents for Mankar Camoran, and also our theory, is that it claims this all took place before the creation of Mundus, plus before the shattering of Lorkhan. But the story goes on and says that apparently during the chaos of creation, when all this was going on with Lorkhan and Auriel, apparently the wife of Molag Bal freed Mehrunes Dagon and used him as a weapon. And there's a bit of a problem with this telling of events too. Presumably, for Dagon to conquer Lig and earn the title of Kinslayer that the story gives him, he still needs to defeat Molag Bal. But he's unable to do that in the beginning of the story, so how is it that he's suddenly able to later? Well, there's a way we can combine this story with Mankar Camoran's telling of events to form a story that makes more sense. Maybe Dagon was originally an Atada that did exist before the shattering of Lorkhan. Then he ventured to Lig and was defeated and captured by Molag Bal. And perhaps this wife of Molag Bal's was a Magna Gi. And for whatever reason, she resented her husband. I mean, I can't fathom Molag Bal, the Daedric Prince of Corruption, being a good husband. So when Lorkhan was shattered, she saw an opportunity to get away from him. She found one of the fragments and brought it to Dagon so he could merge with it, thus becoming powerful enough to defeat Molag Bal. And that's how we ended up with the Daedric Prince of Destruction that we know from the games. This telling of events makes sense of both stories. Before we move on, I want to share some more thoughts on this wife of Molag Bal's. Could she be a character that we know? Well, the Daedric Prince Meridia is thought to have been a Magna Gi. And if she were somehow Molag Bal's ex-wife, that would add a very interesting wrinkle to the events of ESO. So those are my thoughts on that for the time being. The last thing we need to discuss here, and this is really what sells me on the theory, is Mankar Camoran's monologue from Oblivion. So what I'll do is I'll play parts of it, then explain how they really fit with this theory.
The principalities have sparkled as gems in the black reaches of Oblivion since the first morning. Many are their names and the names of their masters. The cold harbor of Meridia, Periite's quagmire, the 10 moon shadows of Mephala and Dawn's beauty, the princedom of Lorkhan, misnamed Tamriel by deluded mortals. Yes, you understand now. Tamriel is just one more Daedric realm of Oblivion, long since lost to its prince when he was betrayed by those that served him. Lord Dagon cannot invade Tamriel, his birthright. He comes to liberate the occupied lands.
If Tamriel was Lorkhan's plane of Oblivion, then how is it Dagon's birthright? Perhaps he and Camoran believe that being a fragment of Lorkhan makes it rightfully his. But why should Dagon get it over the other fragments like Hircine? I suppose maybe Camoran is not aware that there are other fragments, maybe Dagon is keeping that information from him. And maybe for whatever reason, Dagon does see himself as the rightful heir over Hircine.
Why do you think your world has always been contested ground, the arena of powers and immortals? It is Tamriel, the realm of change, brother to madness, sister to deceit. Your false gods could not entirely rewrite history. Thus you remember tales of Lorkhan vilified, a dead trickster whose heart came to Tamriel. But if a god can die, how does his heart survive? He is Daedroth, Tamriel I Daedroth. This heart is the heart of the world, for one was made to satisfy the other. You all remember this. It is in every legend. Daedra cannot die, so your so-called gods cannot erase him from your minds completely.
But if Lorkhan isn't dead, then where is he? I suppose in fragments like Dagon. Though this part of what Camoran is saying is flawed because the Nerevarine destroyed the heart. Though there are ways to work around this. I don't want to spend too much time in this subject for now, but I don't think divine energy can ever be destroyed. I think it can only ever be redistributed. So while the heart might be gone, the divine energy that was contained within it is not gone, it's just free now. Well, that's what I've got for you this week, folks. That's why I believe that Mehrunes Dagon is a fragment of Lorkhan. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already and want to see more content like this, and share this with your Skyrim-loving friends. And please comment if you have something to add. I'd love to read it. May Talos guide you, everyone, and I will see you next time.